Nigeria's aquaculture industry is a rapidly growing sector that has the potential to provide food security and economic growth. However, the industry faces challenges that need to be addressed for its sustainable development. Some of the challenges include access to good quality seed, access to funding, increase in disease-related loss due to inadequate or lack of knowledge on farm biosecurity, abuse and misuse of antimicrobials, thereby contributing to the antimicrobial resistance AMR scourge, and so on. This documentary explores the perspective of stakeholders across the value chain of aquaculture in Nigeria, including farmers, processors, regulators, and researchers, to understand the challenges and opportunities in the industry as part of the outcome of the Aquaculture Biosecurity project.
Improving biosecurity, a science-based approach to manage fish disease risk and increase the socio-economic contribution of the Nigerian catfish and Tilapia industries. It is one of the USAID-funded projects under the Feed the Future Innovation Lab for Fish. Nigeria is the host country for this project, as you are aware, and the project sites are Ogun and Delta states. The project is being executed in collaboration with the people, my colleagues that have introduced from the International Center for Living Aquatic Resources Management, ICLAM, also known as WorldFish, and in Malaysia and Mississippi State University, USA. The project was expected to run from 2020 to 2023, but because of COVID, we didn't start in 2021, and we are still continuing to next year.
Fish production is like any animal industry. We do use antibiotics as a tool to treat fish diseases, and we got to be careful with the use of it, because too much use of antibiotics causes the development of resistance, and when you have resistance develop, you can't treat the disease anymore because the antibiotics don't work anymore. So that's the main thing that we are concerned about, but also we have to be careful with the safe use of antibiotics, because if they're not used properly, you could have residues in the food as well. So judicious use of antibiotics is a useful tool in aquaculture, but you just have to be careful with the use of it.
The state of growth of the Nigerian aquaculture industry in the last 15 years is unprecedented. However, sustainable aquaculture growth requires that various constraints to the sector are addressed, including aquatic animal disease and indiscriminate chemical and drug use, and associated food safety and antimicrobial resistance concerns. The goal of our project is therefore to improve aquatic animal biosecurity and health management in the Nigerian aquaculture sector using a science-based approach with cutting-edge scientific and digital tools. We have therefore been working assiduously to understand the epidemiology of fish diseases, the health economics, as well as identify pathogens of economic and public health significance circulating in the Nigerian catfish and Tilapia aquaculture industry, employing presumptive field and modern laboratory diagnostics. During this workshop, we shall be presenting our findings to stakeholders while engaging all the stakeholders that are here. Here we have represented here fish farmers, we have veterinarians here, we have fish biologists here, we have industries that are supporting the aquaculture industry, we have the government, MDAs, those are ministry departments and agencies, and we have policymakers, we have media here as well. In a bid to develop homegrown best management practices for the Nigerian aquaculture industry. And I'll explain that if you go online, you can download best management practices. We believe they are applicable to our Nigerian society. So we want to produce something that will be applicable to our system and our society. We shall also be commencing the process of developing a fitting national aquatic animal health and biosecurity strategy for implementation by competent authorities in this domain. A major highlight of this workshop, which we are very proud of, is the launching of the project's legacy web platform named eAqua Health, which will provide a network for stakeholders and also provide timely support to farmers in terms of diagnostic support and linkage to verified aquatic veterinarians and other stakeholders within the value chain. On the platform are other extension resources for farmers, for continued education for people veterinarians as well, So that is what we are launching today after the speeches. In this setting, that is threats of many engagements, including various stakeholders tailored capacity building activities. That's what we hope to do after now, to start streaming down what we have learned. We are hopeful that the uptake of the project output by farmers and other stakeholders will bring about informed best management practices directed health management in aquaculture, whether it be quarantine, diagnostics, surveillance, and even emergency preparedness and import and export guidelines as well. While the implementation of the National Aquatic Animal Health and Biosecurity Strategy by competent authorities, we enable policy-level changes contributing to sustainability and resilience.
Nigeria is the second largest producer of fish in Africa after Egypt, with the industry providing jobs to myriads of people along its value chain. However, the industry is facing enormous challenges, including disease outbreaks that threaten the sustainability of fish farms. We will be exploring the importance of biosecurity in aquaculture and how stakeholders across the value chain are working to protect their farms and livelihoods. This journey starts at hatchery. Here, fish eggs are hatched and raised until they are ready to be transferred to grow-out fish farms. Biosecurity is crucial in hatcheries to ensure that fish seeds are healthy and disease-free. However, hatchery also faces challenges such as epileptic power supply and lack of access to quality feed. From the hatchery, we proceed to a grow-out fish farm in Nigeria. Here, we see farmers at work tending to their fish and ensuring they are healthy and well fed. But there are unseen threats that could harm the fish and the farm. To prevent disease outbreaks, farmers are implementing biosecurity measures such as screening visitors, disinfecting equipment and vehicles, and monitoring water quality. But there are still challenges that need to be addressed.
The concept of fish farming in Nigeria is a rapidly growing industry. Fish is acceptable by all religions, all regions in the nation. So it's quite a very good, a very lucrative business, and you can train just like my children are learning to feed, to walk in the pond, to harvest fish. They are learning, and yet they are not particularly going to school because of fisheries or vet or wildlife, but they are learning it as a side. So it's a very good concept of something you can do beside your house, even if it's plastic ponds, at least to some level, according to your capacity. Just you can raise it, even if it's for home production. On the issue of biosecurity, is a best practice. Just like biosecurity actually means prevention is better than cure. Before you start raising, before you start production in such a way that you now run into some challenges, you do preventive measures. Then one thing I notice about the catfish industry, or even any industry in Nigeria, or farmer, people believe in asking questions from the wrong people. People don't believe in professionals. Generally, the concept we have in the country is that professionals go to university to learn theories and they don't know anything about practicals. It's not true. The theories will prevent a lot of losses that a lot of farmers think you have to have bad experiences before you hit it, before you hammer.
I had a high mortality rate. Like I stocked 5,000 pieces of fishes and I lose everything. It was due to lynch, but it got to our notice quite late because I was not around. My manager also was not around then, so it was only my younger ones that were feeding them. So they couldn't discover what was going on, and they didn't even let the whole issue out on time. So on getting to know it was lynch, before we got to know, It has already went out of hand. So that was how we lost our whole, let me just say 50% of our capital then.
Wow.
We started the issue of liming, sorting, and then that was when we introduced the issue of we introduced water, bringing in water to the ponds 247 in order to flush in, flush out. Like, as you can see all these ponds now, you can see water is getting in and getting out. It is not something that will be okay. This is an outlet. So this one will transfer water to this will transfer the water outside. So with continuous moving of water 247, it will reduce the tendency of having diseases on the farm.
Ìrànlọ́wọ́ ta nílò ni pé tí a bá rí oore ọ̀fẹ́ láti rí link pẹ̀lú ìjọba àbí èèyàn tí ó bá lè ràn wá lọ́wọ́ lórí iṣẹ́ yìí láti jẹ́ pé tá bá rí bí owó láti fi ṣe iṣẹ́ yìí. So ó jẹ́ iṣẹ́ tí a lè pè ní bántánṣe, iṣẹ́ tó ṣe jókòó lé pé iṣẹ́ tí mò ń ṣe lélẹ̀. Téèyàn dẹ̀ lè bọ́ síta gbangba pé àgbẹ̀ ẹlẹ́ja odò ní iṣẹ́ tó ṣe tí inú yìí ó máa dùn pé mò ń ṣiṣẹ́ òní. Bọ̀ tá bá rí owó láti fi jẹ́ pé wọ́n fi empower wa lórí irú iṣẹ́ yìí. So iṣẹ́ tó yẹ pé kò sí owó téèyàn lè ná lé tí ò ní yọ 100% yẹn wà. Bó ṣe àìsàn mo lè sọ iye gram tí.
This is the point before it gets to the consumer.
A máa ń lọ sí farm lọ rà ni. Aláwọn tó ń sìn wọ́n tó bá ti dàgbà wọ́n á pè wá á lọ rà. Size by size ní 15 wà. Irú eléyìí báyìí 2000 wà ń bẹ̀, 15 wà ń bẹ̀. A ló ní 1000. Àwọn eléyìí 1000, eléyìí 800. 800 làwọn wẹ́wẹ́. Tó bá ṣe tóbi sí náà la ṣe ń tà.
Kíjọba ràn wá lọ́wọ́ náà ni a ní ìdí owó tá fi sí ọjà tó rọ́jà ó wọ́n sí, a sì ní ìdí owó tá fi mọ rajà díẹ̀díẹ̀. Kánjọ kan ràn wá lọ́wọ́, Ọlọ́run ṣèyanu. Tá bá ti rà lóko, a máa ti délé á select wọn ní ńlá, medium, wẹ́wẹ́, so a máa tà lẹ́yọ kọ̀ọ̀kan, dẹ̀ máa ń ṣe dáadáa. Ní gain, a lè rí bóyá bíi 10,000, 15,000 lọ́sẹ̀. Bọ́jà bá ṣe sí.
At the processing plant, value is added to fish to increase the shelf life so that fish sellers and farmers do not have to sell at a loss during market glut. However, the processing plant also faces challenges such as lack of access to cold storage facilities and poor road infrastructure.
You cannot go for local fish. You can easily go for it for barbecue, and so come out nice. It's a very nice fish. If you don't go for one that is not big, it's going to, it won't come out nice. But if you are going for it, you are going to go for the one that is big, that is very so it will be able to come out very nice.
Here we visit a government agency responsible for regulating aquaculture in Nigeria. We see how the government is working to promote the industry and the need for public-private partnership.
As you can see, when you visited, that the place is highly dilapidated. And I told you that government doesn't want to compete with private investors. At least just to give the room for them to expand. Because the moment government starts funding a project that private investors are into, number one, the government price will be lower. Because people will say that government has to subsidize it. Then that means we will put the private investors at a slight risk, or they will be on their heads. What we are doing now is that we have some investors that we are talking with officially on the rehabilitation of that industry so that they can take it up. And I'm very sure that before the third quarter, I believe things will have improved on that farm. Because that farm is capable of producing about 5 tons of fish, stable fish at once. And for fish seed multiplication at a stretch, if all the facilities are utilized at a batch, it should be able to produce about 500,000 fish seeds at a batch. So it's an avenue for good investments. So we recommend that anybody that has the skill and the capability could come up and partner with Socio-economic.
With use of antibiotics, with use of, you can see it on the watch stated, with use of drugs, maybe from here you can see antiviral, antifungal responses, all can be abused. If you don't know how to use it, you're supposed to use. So as layman, they are not suitable, but in case they know the right proportion we're supposed to use for each share for their animals. That's when, with use of antibiotics, it's dangerous to the health of ORMB, Jaw for Zenus. You will find that out. Sometimes people take antibiotics and refuse to cure their ailments. Those are giving a side effects for resistance. But rightful, it has said, when you want to construct your fund, we have to make sure that you construct the fund cooling place that is very secure. You can look at what is happening upstream. You have an industry there, also you are producing chemicals that when is released, that may affect the fish in the pond. Because whatever affects the fish will definitely affect human being that for zoomies. So, we make sure we first of all look at the location or the place where the person wants to locate it. We advise better that this place will not be suitable for getting lots of this and this. That's the suspect. Then by the time they construct the fund, what is the quality of water we want to use with even ever before. By that they want to use Hiball, or they also use way or stream. Because it is earthen pond and they want to use stream or lakes. We have to make sure that whatever water we are using is clean. So you can price that farmer whether the price is treated. Then after the construction of the fund, when the works were not used natural water, we make sure they use normal line, because farmers use the right chemicals to line their pond. We have some chemicals that if they use to have residual effects on the human being, having done the work they're supposed to do, like crustacea for if they use it to lime their pond, because they work to make sure they fill all the filters. Or really that with the residual effects would be or the consumer.
Access to loan facilities will enable farmers to get materials needed to sustain and grow out their farms. Supporting farmers in the industry is very crucial. Research and development is critical for improving our understanding of aquatic animal health issues and developing effective strategies for disease prevention and control. It is important to involve and support research institutions and universities, as well as promoting partnership between researchers, industry, and the government agencies.
Based on the available data from the projects, one, we're looking to reach out to farmers on how to carry out their own production aspects there. This is the taking of water for departments, which is the main focus when you're talking about aquaculture. Because when the water is good, the fish will be okay, and then maybe you don't need to pour in anything that's good water. You know, we don't need to use antibiotics on the fish. But when the water is splash, the first thing that comes to the mind of Papa when they have water is drugs. Moreover, most of the time, it has to do with water quality powder. Not so we need to realize that aside what people maybe thinking about better fertilization, maybe better ended in agricultural production, be able to realize that the involvement of veterinary doctors is very key in agricultural production, because now when fish are dying, you need to save the fish from dying. I say that you need to save the farmers from having hypertension. Because somebody that puts about 50,000 fish in the pond, and by the time it wants to harvest, it's having like 5,000 fish. And it's your guessing that my nuts. Next thing that will happen is to meet himself or herself in your space. So by the time we are facing the fish, and at the same time we are going to at least indirectly see the farmer. Also, it also increase the income of the farmer.
So we have to largely depending on aquaculture. And also to understand how much we have to depend, we look at the per capita fish consumption. So according to our estimates, the current per capita fish consumption in Nigeria is 11.2 kilograms per year per person. If I want to maintain the same amount or the status quo, by 2030, to maintain the same amount, you need additional 752 tons of fish. And also, if you want to reach the global average, the current per capita is only half of global average. To reach the global average of 20.1 kg per person per annum, you need 3.14 million tons of fish by 2030. This is with the increase of population. So definitely we researchers and everyone should look at to increase the growth rate of aquaculture. And if you look at current aquaculture production, comes from catfish, largely comes from catfish, more than 90% comes from catfish. So you can't depend on single species. So definitely that should be a species diversification. So researchers should work towards increasing the species diversification in aquaculture production.
This part of the value chain is quite important as they produce the feed that nourishes the fish from hatchling to table size. If this part is wrong, the whole life cycle of the fish will be affected irreparably.
There are many challenges that we encounter in this field. Number one is the aspect of finance. Due to the economic situation of the country, prices of goods, materials are not stable. So we encounter a problem there. Then sometimes we have to go for a loan, to procure raw materials. At times after getting that money, to look to get the actual material you need, to produce something, find it difficult. Like there was a material that we used to use. We used to add to the formula. We call it Orego Slim. That time when we used to buy it, we had it. It gives the feed kind of a good aroma, and not only that, it has some works that it does, on the fish, like the issue of liver problems. Takes care of the problem in the fish and cat. So, but now, if you go to the place, you say they don't have because of the exchange rates. That thing is not locally produced, so it's an imported product. Then, apart from that, the labor, that's another problem. You cannot work alone. You need hands, to work with you. So we have that problem. Youth of today, they don't want to work, just want to get money, without working, without sweating. And this thing, you want to do it to make a complete formula. You cannot carry soya today. Soya now. At the same time, you want to carry some. By the time we produce in tons, so all these things are not easy to do. The major challenge we have is the electricity.
So the Aqua's solution is a way whereby we are bringing technology into bridging the gap between the fish farmers and other stakeholders in aquaculture. Stakeholders like the vet doctors, the government, the feed mill, where it gets the sheets that they use, the market, some other value chain stakeholders. So this particular e-aqua health solution, it's having the web interface aspect, which is the current stage that is available for use right now. And on this particular platform, we do link farmers who are registered on the platform and report a case that they encounter in farm. Particular case is Gerten. We read through and assign a vet doctor. So we assign a vet doctor to the case. So the nearest vet doctor to them, reach out to them and see if there is necessity, or if it is necessary to visit the farm, or if there will be need for the farmers to send samples to the nearest laboratory. So which is why we also have laboratory registered on the platform. So when there is need for samples or probably the case details to be sent to the laboratory, we'll also assign the nearest laboratory to that particular case. So with this particular platform as well. So, and in this platform, the farmers can as well just search for probably the nearest fish markets whereby they can dispose or sell their fishing that are ready for sale. Or probably they need to get some farm equipment or probably farm materials like the seed and the fish seeds or feeds, so they can use this particular platform to get the nearest place. The e-aqua is an interface for bridging the gap or linking the farmers and other stakeholders in aquaculture.
Some of the outcomes that we found, some of them are tangential. One of the things we wanted to see was to see what are the circulating pathogens. Let me break that down. What are the diseases that they are currently experiencing in the aquaculture industry in Nigeria? Our field is Ogun State and Delta State, and so we went there for a whole year collecting sample actively and passively. When I say active, is that when they have disease outbreak, we collect, and then maybe monthly I would collect to just see what are the disease causing organisms that are within the systems. And that is one of the things we found. So now we're able to say, okay, during rainy season, during dry season, these are the challenges that the farmers go through. The other thing we try to look at is that, can you even prevent disease from occurring? What are the things that that should be in place that will make them exclude disease-causing organisms from entering to their farms? So we identify all those gaps as well. That most of our farms are not biosecure. That is a scientific term to say that there are some measures you put in place on your farm that will make it difficult for you to get pathogen, like from the source of your seed. Are you getting good quality seed? Do you quarantine them when you bring them, or you just add them to the existing stock? And all those kind of small things that you do to exclude pathogens from coming. And then apart from exclusion, to prevent spread, even when you now have disease outbreak on your farm, what are the things you need to do to make sure that it doesn't go from one point to the other? So we found out that most of the farms are not biosecure, and so that's why they are having, disease issues on their farms. The tangential finding, which is worrisome and is of public importance, is the fact that antimicrobials are being abused. One of the major things about aquaculture is that it's newer than the other livestock industries. And so those livestock industries already have some level of oversight, government oversight. You have drugs that you use in the livestock industry, like if you're running cattle, and some of the measures that you put in place for it not to be a problem is that, like, if you give an animal some antibiotics now, you can't slaughter those animals and call it withdrawal period. You don't have such. In fact, the lifespan of a fish is so short. And it's not only in Nigeria, even in developed countries, most of the drugs that you use in other livestock industry, they are not licensed for food fish. You can use them for ornamental fish if you have an aquarium. But when you're going to eat fish, because what happens is that those fish, is the same drug. If you say tetracycline is the same that we use in human that is used in animals. So what that means is that when you have those abuse, then it has what you call antimicrobial resistance issues. And that's why at times when people are sick or animals are sick, you use antibiotics, it doesn't work. So livestock, the aquaculture industry is actually contributing, from what our findings, is contributing to the antimicrobial resistance culture that we have. So those are the kind of things. Our interventions are being is education. We had a workshop, brought together stakeholders. That was August of 2022 across, because this is something that we have to work together to be able to handle. Is aquaculture desirable? Yes. For Nigeria, it's also a major source of employment and livelihood for some people. So what we need to do is not to say, oh, don't do it anymore. It's to, number one, start doing it right. And to do it right, we have to bring everybody involved along the value chain, including governments. And that was what we did with our workshop, to educate farmers, to show them the evidence of what is happening from our findings, and to also advise them. But one of the major things that is that we need policy intervention. One of the outcome of our study is that from our study, we have been able to come up with a best management practice. So if you are starting a fish farm, you look at our BNP. It will help you to be able to set up an aquaculture farm in the right way. And if you actually deploy all the BNP processes that we put in our documents, then it's going to be able to make your farm more secure. So you will have less need of use of antimicrobials. I mean, if you don't have disease, you don't need to use the drug. So that is the essence. So those are the kind of things we are promoting.
By implementing best management practices and addressing the challenges faced by stakeholders across the value chain, we can protect our fish, our farms, and our livelihood. We hope that this documentary has shed light on the importance of biosecurity in aquaculture and inspires actions to promote a sustainable, thriving industry in Nigeria.